So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Healthcare Professionals Working Party. And this is a very special meeting because we are celebrating today the 10th anniversary of this Working Party. And we are really pleased to have with us not only the executive director who will open formally the meeting, but all the co-chairs until now of the Working Party. So we will structure the agenda in three elements. We will look back a little bit to see what has been achieved during these 10 years, where are we today, and then how we are looking ahead in the work of this important Working Party. And without any further delay, I give the floor to Emer Cook, our Executive Director, who will open formally the meeting. Thank you, Emer.
Thank you very much, Juan, and welcome to all of you to the agency and to those of you online as well. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Emer Cook. I'm the Executive Director of the Medicines Agency here. I've been the Executive Director since November 2020. So I wasn't Executive Director 10 years ago, but I was at the agency, and I remember very clearly the Healthcare Professionals Working Party being set up under Isabel's leadership. So I'm really honored to join you today in marking the 10 years of this important Working Party. And I want to congratulate the Working Party on its commitment and hard work over the last decade, because I really believe that this has been fundamental to the development of the Healthcare Working Party as a key pillar in EMA's stakeholder engagement framework. Now, I've read the wonderful testimonials that you shared with us on this occasion, and it really fills me with great pride to see how valuable you find this group and its work. And as Juan said, I'm delighted to be joined by the former co-chairs Isabel Moulon, Gonzalo Calvo, Ulrich Jäger, and as well the current co-chairs Rosa Giuliani and Juan Garcia Burgos. Their vision and leadership has been a driving force behind much of the work and achievements over the past 4 mandates. I need to particularly emphasize how the uniqueness of this Working Party and its counterpart, the Patient and Consumers Working Party, in providing a platform for dialogue and sharing of experiences and good practices, and ultimately ensuring that the views of those we work for, healthcare professionals, are included in the work of the agency. It's a very exciting time for medicines regulation, full of opportunities and full of challenges. And these challenges are for the agency, but also for the communities that you represent. So we have the ongoing work on the implementation of the clinical trials regulation. We have our extended mandate, which was directly born from our experience with COVID. And now we have the future legislation on the European pharmaceutical regulation, which will shape the future of medicines regulation going forward. And this will lead to an even greater need for collaboration with healthcare professionals and other stakeholders. It's also a very exciting time in the area of digital transformation. So we're seeing technological achievements in the field of digitalization, and they're creating new ways to treat patients and collect data on safety and effectiveness. Innovation will transform areas such as personalized medicines, advanced therapies, and medical devices. And this means that new expertise needs to be brought into our network, and the organizations that you represent are best placed to provide a major source of this expertise, as well as helping us to introduce new generations of health professionals to the regulatory world. You have a huge role in communication, making sure that we are getting the message right and helping to ensure that we can translate innovation into approaches that make a difference in clinical care. And I know that you're embarking on a reflection to adapt the framework of interaction to this very challenging and changing environment. And I would like to wish you a very fruitful meeting, and I'm looking forward to hearing the outcomes of these discussions. So with that, I hand over to the current co-chairs, Juan and Rosa, for what I know will be a very exciting meeting, and I'm hoping to see you tonight at the drinks.
Thank you very much, Imer. Thank you for acknowledging the work over these 10 years. And as you say, maybe we can now go back to the origins of it and the foundations that allowed for these discussions to really support most of the work that we do. Because I think at the end of the day, through this working party, all the topics, all the initiatives that EMA has been taking over the last years has been discussed and has been gathering the input from your side in order to ensure that we do exactly what is needed and addressing your needs. So I don't know, Rosa, you would like to give any words before we go back to the previous co-chairs?
No, I just want to say that I'm extremely happy to be here with all of you today, and I cannot wait to learn again, hear again how everything started. So I think that now is the time for the past co-chairs.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we can try then to learn about that. And it's my pleasure to introduce Isabelle Moulon, who most of you know. Isabelle is a qualified medical doctor from the University of Grenoble in France. She's specialized in endocrinology and metabolic diseases. And she joined EMA in 1995. And among other responsibilities, she was directly involved in the development interaction with patients, with healthcare professionals, and later with academia. She was the co-chair of the Healthcare Professional Working Party since its creation in 2013 until 2017. And afterwards, Isabelle was senior advisor on stakeholder engagement until she retired in 2019. And we are very pleased that you managed to come in person. Thank you, Isabelle.
Thank you very much, Juan. So first of all, I would like to thank the EMA, Juan and Ivana, for inviting me today. It's a great honor for me to be here for the 10th anniversary, and it's a bit moving to be back in the agency, although I don't know this building because of my first time in this building. So again, thank you very much. So I don't want to look like an old dinosaur, but I think to explain the foundation of this working party, we need to go back some historical background. And of course, the whole thing come back to the creation of the agency in 1995. And you will see that already at that time, there was a lot on the mind of the regulators in the agency. And I found a declaration from the first chair of the management board, Stronapple. And actually, you will see how visionary he was. And I want to read what he wrote in the annual report. He said, "There is a partnership between the regulators on the one hand and the customers on the other, the customers being the public, the health profession, and the pharmaceutical industry. These partnerships are at the heart of the regulatory system. If any of them were weakened or fractured in any way, the effectiveness of the system would be threatened. The board will therefore keep a careful watch on this partnership and take them fully into account in shaping its policies." And you see that from there, it has never stopped. And actually, in between 95 and 2000, it was a sort of, I would say, a brewing period. And the management board organized, I think it was once or twice a year, I don't remember exactly, meetings with the stakeholders. And for the healthcare professional, it was a very big umbrella organization. It was PGU and it was CPMA representing the healthcare professionals. But what was also extremely important during this period is that we had the HIV patient pushing to be involved in the regulatory process, pushing to be heard and to be listened to by the scientific committees. And you know that the experts of the scientific committees, most of them are healthcare professionals. And even the members of the committees, in some cases, were healthcare professionals. When the national competent authorities didn't want to nominate one of their staff member, they asked an expert to be member of the committees. So the healthcare professionals were present in the work. And in 2000, we had the big bang. We had the revolution in the agency. We had the new orphan legislation. And the orphan legislation said that a patient will be member of the orphan committee. And that was the first time that the member of the public would be in a committee, member of a committee. And in parallel, a lot of new patient organizations were created. So there were a lot of activities on the patient side. So we decided to go with the flow and organize a workshop with them. And we organized a working group in order to prepare some recommendation for the agency on how we could organize a collaboration with patients. And all this work were also taken on board by the new pharmaceutical legislation, which was adopted in 2004, and said that the management board and the committees should organize their collaboration with patient and healthcare professionals. And so very quickly, in 2006, the management board adopted the framework of interaction with patients and consumers. And the same year, the working party with patient organization and consumer organization was created. So you will tell me that's fine, that's patients, but here we are talking about healthcare professionals. So why do I mention that? I mention that because with the healthcare professional, the things were not so obvious. There was no push from the healthcare professional. And there were experts, as I said, there were members of committees. So what else? What do they need? So we thought, as we have patients, we need really to have healthcare professionals more involved in the activities. And we decided to mirror what we had done with the patients. And we created a group, and we discussed more or less the same thing. And as my colleagues Juan and Ivana put it, it was a learning experience. In fact, it was a big mess. It was a failure. It didn't work at all. And so at some point we had to stop and breathe and say, okay, what are we going to do now? And finally, we went back to the drawing board and to the fundamentals. And we thought, we'll start from scratch. Why do we need healthcare professionals here? And why do the healthcare professionals need us? And what are our common interests? And from there, we started to build up a much more closer collaboration and based on trust and mutual benefit. And this worked much, much better. And this ended up in the adoption of the framework. So that was in 2011, if I'm not wrong. So that was 5 years later than the patients, but we managed to do it. So we were very happy and we thought, okay, now we create the working party. No, that was not so easy because before we create the working party, we need to have eligible organization on board. And that was the other obstacle because you know the eligibility criteria much better than I do now, but part of it is not for profit and the issue of transparency of the funding and some specific requirement on the funding. And for some healthcare professional organization, that was no problem. But for some others, that was really a completely new issue that they did not manage in the past, this issue of transparency and problems of funding. And in fact, they could not really understand why they needed to do that. For us as an institution, it was our daily work, being transparent and the issue of conflict of interest, funding for organization and so on. So we had to help them. And during 2 years, we managed bit by bit to take on board, I think it was about 20 healthcare professional organizations. And finally, we had the first meeting of the Healthcare Professional Working Party at the EMA on the 5th of June 2013, because it's 10 years. And we had around the table 13 organizations. So we had the umbrella organization like PGU, CPMA, hospital pharmacists, nurses. But we had also learned societies specialized in more therapeutic areas, mostly covering the mandatory scope of the centrally authorized product, but also other specialties which were very important for the agency. And that's how the whole thing started. The first meeting nominated and elected the co-chair, Gonzalo, who is here with us today. And that was the start of a very good collaboration. So I'm very happy to be here today and very, very pleased to wish the Working Party a very happy 10 years anniversary and a very bright future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabel, for illustrating and going back to the basics and highlighting the challenges that we faced at the time and how we managed to overcome them based on mutual understanding and hard work from the side of the organizations as well. So I think we can now move to the first elected co-chair, as you say, who is Gonzalo Calvo. And Gonzalo is a senior consultant and is the head of the clinical pharmacology department of the Hospital Clinic of Barcelona. He has a lot of regulatory experience. He has been member of the CHMP from 2002 to 2011. And for more than 10 years, he chairs also the CHMP Cardiovascular Working Party. He has been rapporteur for more than 80 applications for centrally authorized products and has actively contributed to the development of regulations on biosimilars in Europe. He is the past chair of the European Association for Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics and was the first elected healthcare professional working party, leading 2 mandates between 2013 and 2019. And we very much thank Gonzalo for being here in person.
Thank you, Juan. And thank you, Ivana, Isabel, and Emmer for inviting me, and of course, Rosa. I will be very short in the interest of time, but among other things, because I'm reaching an age that I start to forget everything. So I have some problems in keeping memories in my now. Joking apart, I'm truly excited. I'm truly excited to see here my Spanish colleague at the CHMP for many years, Concha. Very nice to meet you here. But excited because now it has been 26 years that I, in one way or another, form part of the European Medicines Agency, first in the efficacy working party. This is not just but a hint that I'm getting very old. But 26 years being part of the efficacy working party, the cardiovascular working party, 9 years at the CHMP. But I guess that my most creative period, because you were not under pressure, it was just a meeting of colleagues in a very relaxed manner and try to be constructive together with the patient working party, was my 6 years period in the healthcare professionals working party. I enjoyed a lot. And it was, Isabel, it was a little bit hard at the beginning because you were putting together people that, in fact, they had no idea why they were coming here to meet. I mean, the experience, and now I'm deeply involved in the academia, the experience and the knowledge about regulatory sciences in the academia is close to zero, is nothing. They do not understand why medicines don't reach patients on time, but they don't care about the reasons. They simply believe and know that there is people decided about that. And I think it's important to make them aware that this is a necessary task, and we are doing our best in our hospital. And also in my experience, I can confess that except working for industry, I have spent some time in all the environments that you can imagine. I mean, I have been young investigator, I have been young regulator, then I became old regulator, and then back to the academia. I'm about to become marketing authorization holder of an academic CAR T cell. Well, Emma, we are trying. We are part of the PRIME initiative, and we have an authorization for exceptional use by the Spanish Institute. But it's tricky because you need to fight with academics on that they do not understand why things are so complicated. In order to since the very early manufacturing and inventing process until the clinical data, they need to present data in a particular framework. So it's a hard experience, but it's very enriching. And I think that here at the very beginning, it was difficult. It was difficult to create the atmosphere to prompt discussions, to get the people understanding what was their importance in the regulatory framework. But at the end, I think that the huge hard work from Isabel, from Juan, from Ivana, from Natalie, from many people that worked together, I think that they did. And the discussions were richer and richer. And at the end of my second mandate, I think that the discussions, particularly the discussion together with patients, were very fruitful. I learned a lot from the patient working party. Hi. And I think that I enjoyed a lot this stage, this time of my regulatory experience. Now you have the future in front of you. As Emma has summarized, there are many challenges ahead and many alternative ways of developing drug. I hope to be on fire until the very end of my professional career, but the young people has to be very well prepared for the time that is to come. So thanks to every one of you. Thanks to Rosa as the present chair. Congratulations to Uli as the chair that followed me. It's not a difficult task, but you did. And I'm really pleased to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gonzalo, for reminding how important it is to raise awareness and to make the academic and the clinical world to make them understand how we work and why it's important, the work of regulators, and also to highlight the importance of having joint discussions between all stakeholders, and in particular between healthcare professionals and patients. That's the way that we are approaching the coming years. So it's my pleasure now to introduce the next co-chair, who is Uli Jager. And Uli is professor of hematology at the University of Vienna. He has been the head of the clinical department for hematology and hemostasiology at the Vienna General Hospital. And Professor Jager is highly regarded as a specialist in hematological malignancies, and he is a former president of the European Hematology Association. and he was representative of the Healthcare Professional Working Party of his organization, and he became the second elective co-chair between 2019 and 2022. And we are also equally grateful for you to be here in person, Uli. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. I feel very humbled to be here once again. I see a lot of friends, and of course, I'd like to thank EMA for having us. I will definitely be known as the COVID co-chair. 2019 was a very significant year for all of us. So we had a lot of projects. Juan and Ivana, I remember when we were sitting, I think, in Madrid and designed a work plan, which was never executed. But nevertheless, I also have a very different background from what I heard from Gonzalo. He was very active in EMA before. I come from the other side, so I was mainly a researcher and working for a learned society. And believe me, when I came on, the EMA and its building was definitely perceived a bit as an ivory tower. And I think, so I entered the room and I was really taken by the spirit. And I think that's the difference. So you have to be thanked very much for opening the space for discussions. I think that this is one of the main achievements of this party and of this room, that you listen and we exchange information between the healthcare professionals, of course, and I'd like to thank all my peers, and I think we all had the same goals, but also with the patient organizations. I mean, I was lucky to co-chair with Kaiser, who really is a wonderful contributor to this area, and I definitely realized that only if we act together we will achieve things, and particularly patients and healthcare professionals. And I think this is one of the messages that we have to get out. So what have we accomplished? Not very much from our work plan. We had high hopes. Well, in the meantime, of course, there were news in the clinical trials regulation. I think that of course was very helpful, and the harmonization project, the ICH. And there were some favorite projects that, of course, I wanted to pursue, which was personalized medicine. And I think we realized, and that's one of the things that have to be accomplished in the future, that personalized medicine will not work without a special regulatory framework. We cannot put the old framework over personalized medicine, because it will just not work. We've experienced with a clinical trial using this approach, and the regular rules just don't apply. And I think we discussed for 2 years with our own agency in Austria on how we could set up such a clinical trial. So I think that's something that was on our plate at that time. And then the other project that's close to my heart, of course, is access to medicine, and availability and shortage and all the things that are circling around this particular area. I was very pleased that HTA was getting more and more role in this area, because I think Isabel said it. We are not for profit, the people who are sitting in this room. And this is sometimes not easy, because making ourselves heard with industry on the other side, not always on the other side, but in this case on the other side, is not easy. And I think we will have to find ways out in terms of improving access. And then the next novel area, real-world evidence, was also developing during this process. For the future, I think again, access availability is one of the big topics, and as one of the former chairs who is not directly involved, allow me a word of caution. I think we cannot separate access and availability from pricing. And I've said that many times. I know the point of view that EMA has. I think it has widened a bit and eased up a bit, but we all know how regulations are. But in practice, you cannot separate the two. I mean, let's face it. And we have to find ways around it to make medicines accessible to everybody. And if we use orphan drugs and roll them out at the same price to the whole European population, it will not work. And that's why I think HTA is so important in this particular context. The other word of caution from my point of view, allow me to say that, is in terms of the clinical trial regulation, which is an extremely important achievement. We have created a body of an administrative body of clinical research organizations, which is now in between pharma and the healthcare professionals, the doctors and patients. And this administrative body is now working on its own, uncontrolled, without many rules, without many responsibility. And let's say the things that we thought we would achieve, which is more regulatory safety, is not always in the interest of patient safety. Let's face it. So it's administration has increased, but the number of healthcare professionals has not increased. So we do all the work now for many more people. So allow me these two words so that we don't just celebrate today, and I'm in a position to be able to say that. But having said that, I'd like to thank everybody for this wonderful spirit. I really enjoyed it. I tell the young doctors, well, and we had a discussion also with Bart van Ormen about that. We have to invite young doctors and healthcare professionals to also go into the regulatory and strategic part of our business, because I think there will be no progress if we just care for patients all the time. We have to think ahead a bit and look into the future. I'd like to thank on a personal basis all my colleagues at EHA, of course, Robin and Sarah and Ole Weiss Bjørum, who are following me, and then at EMA, of course, the whole team, Juan and Ivana and Natalie and whoever is there, and hope I didn't forget anybody, and then of course our formers for Isabel and Gonzalo for creating this whole party, and then of course also my colleagues from the Healthcare Professional Working Party and the Patient Working Party. And Rosa, we know that the Healthcare Professional co-chair is now in very good hands, and we wish you luck.
Thank you very much, Uli, for these very open and frank remarks. And I think it actually makes a lot of sense how we go from Isabel, Gonzalo, and then you come from a slightly different angle. And you are right, you were hit by COVID directly, and no wonder that looking at the dates, you coexisted with Imer. But actually, we introduced physically today for the first time because you were online all the time in this agency working together. So thank you for highlighting, accessibility and clinical trials as challenges. And it's true, we are very self-congratulatory today, but of course, we have a lot of challenges ahead and opportunities as well. But I think your remarks are welcome. So we have prepared a video just to highlight what we have, let's say, achieved over these many years. But I would like to open the floor in case someone would like to add anything or any comment from any organization. That's more than welcome. Also from colleagues who are online. So if someone would like to make any comment. Yes, please, Roberto.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this initiative. I was 2013 at the very beginning, because at the time I was president of the European Association of Hospital Pharmacists, and I can remember that at that time I didn't understand what is happening. And but I can remember discussion on shortages, on patient safety. And I thought, well, that will be. And I can remember that at the time, that's my first remark, EMA was a little reluctant to look on shortages. And we have to push a little as a healthcare profession. Now it's reality. It's really very important. And EMA is taking a really important role. And the second, I would like to echo what Ulrich Jäger said, because looking on the perspectives, I think the HTA is very important. And I know now being in Prague, I understand what is regulation and what are the limits of regulation. But I think this important point is to look on new medicine, not only as a one medicine, but in the context of the clinical reality, because this make some new so-called medicine not so important as a company would like to have. And I think in the future, this is an important point, to look how regulators can from the very beginning, give a new medicine a place in the context of the clinical reality, because otherwise we will, and we are experiencing what is happening, that, well, new medicine, they are not so important, are pushed and cause a lot of burden on healthcare systems, which is not in the interest of the patients and not in the interest of healthcare professionals who has to sometimes refuse a new medicine and so on, which is without a regulatory background not easy. But thank you very much once again. I can remember Juan and Ivana from the very beginning, so it's a part of the story. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. Any reaction to that? Otherwise, Walter?
So Walter Marocco of European Forum Primary Care. This is an umbrella organization that we are here from the beginning. I am very happy to participate in the activity, the interesting activity in Healthcare Professional Working Party. And I hope also to have done my support as expert on primary care. But I have to say, thanks for experience about the opportunity to create the GPs group in this occasion. And I think this was a very, very important decision from Isabel. And I have to thank also Ivana and Joan Garcia, because they are going on with this group. Here we have also McCarthy from WEMO. And we work when you ask us to give the support about our experience in primary care, in a real world experience. Thank you very much for all.
Thank you, Walter, very much to you for this. Any further? Yeah, Adamos?
Well, I'm the president of the European Academy of Pediatrics, so I represent the European pediatricians. And I would like to share with you the fact that we in the European Academy of Pediatrics find this platform very important. The experience of exchanging ideas between the other specialties and also among the patients has been wonderful. I do agree with, I think it's you, Juan, who mentioned the fact that we faced at the beginning about the transparency. I think European Medicine Agency helped the society to improve the transparency, and it has been a milestone for us. And I would like to finish this short talk by thanking the European Medicine Agency and, of course, the entire member for being good facilitators, and they were always there to respond to any request to all the members of this group. Finally, I would like to second what my colleague, the hematologist, said earlier about the shortage of medicines. At the moment, this is the most important issue that we face all over Europe. In many countries, there is a shortage of medicines that some of them are really very important for many reasons. And yes, I agree that we have to face the pricing factor, which is one of the main issues. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Adamos. I think that's really good and appreciate it. And indeed, we agree. I mean, shortage is becoming almost a crisis. And it is true that at least we used to say in the past, it's not in our remit, it's now in our remit. Now we have legislation which gives clear mandate. This is in collaboration with the network, with member states, but also in collaboration with you. And that's the way we are trying to build. Even if we are not able to find immediate solutions, I think it's good that at least the issue is acknowledged and that we can all work together on it. Thank you for this. Please, Bernd.
Well, so congratulations, you all, with this anniversary. And as nurses, we are extremely pleased to join this environment. We also congratulate the EMA just to be so very much inclusive to the healthcare professionals in the civil society. This environment also learned a lot to the nurses. For decades, the medical domain was for the doctor, for the pharmacist, but we see now a big evolution in the nursing domain, where in some regions in Europe, it's only administration and report to the doctor, but now we have also on the other side the prescribing. So there's a big evolution, and we think with the next celebrations, some evolutions will also take place in the nursing domain in their roles, their responsibility, and also the support to all those in the prescribing domain. And lastly, I also echo the words of Ulrich. This is an ideal environment just to see the landscape where on this domain. Because if you're only in your ward, it's a very small domain. But if you're here, you learn a lot. I met Roberto. We did some very interesting with the hospital pharmacists, with the CPME, got very good friends. So there's also a very effective instrument for us. So thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Bernd, and I think also for highlighting this aspect. And I think it has been mentioned by Isabel before, but I think the quality of this group is the multidisciplinary representation. And I think indeed nurses as pharmacists, as primary care representatives and specialists has been part of the origin and the philosophy which is behind the group. So thank you for highlighting that. Any further comment? Otherwise, I think maybe we can display the video which has been prepared by colleagues, which is a way to illustrate and to remind all what we have going through during these many years. And just to maybe also mention that we will be building a page on the 10th anniversary, this web page, and we will put there all the testimonies that we have received from you. If anyone would like to send any additional written testimony, this will be included in this web page, but we already have received many of them. And then we can see this video. That was really nice. Thank you very much to Kaisa and colleagues for all this work. I think it summarized very well the amount of work and topics that has going through this. So I think congratulations to you and thanks to you, organizations, for bringing all your input to all these topics and making the good outcomes that we have been recording over the years. So okay, so I think we can close this part of how we managed to get to where we are, and then we can maybe a little bit focus on where we today. And I hand over to Rosa to chair this part.